So today, thank you so much. We're joined by extraordinary pianist and festival favorite, Boris Giltburg. Uh, Thank you again for taking some time
Um,
and chatting with us during this
um,
period.
my pleasure entirely. Hi, Seneca.
Hi. And so where are you getting through this? Where's your home at this point?
I'm in the Netherlands, in the city of Haarlem, and I was actually in the States where when things started uh, getting cancelled. I was on a tour with the Pavel Haas Quartet, and we played three of our six concerts, and then one got cancelled, and we were waiting for the next one, and then in very quick succession, everything just yeah, got cancelled, and then I managed to get a flight here. The Pavel Haas Quartet managed to get flights to the Czech Republic just before the Czech Republic closed its borders. They made it home, which was good. And since mid-March, I'm here.
And you're staying healthy and you're staying as well as can be expected during this time, I hope.
I'm okay, thank you. Yes,
Good, good.
thankfully my family and I were fine.
That's good to hear. I wanted to just jump in. I know sort of one of your big projects this year is your recording of all the Beethoven piano sonatas,
Yes.
a huge undertaking. And obviously, with Beethoven's 250th birthday, it makes sense timing wise. But how did you decide like this is something that I really want to do, and how did the project kind of come to life?
It started about early 19 when I looked at the season, this season, and saw that there was a gap of 7 weeks with almost no concerts. Late December, then almost all of January and early February. And my first thought would be nice, I'll take some time off. But then the idea of 7 empty weeks didn't quite appeal as much as I thought. And then my mind started looking into possible projects. And at first I thought I'll do a Bach project, but it felt a bit arbitrary. And then I thought about the Beethoven sonatas, and that felt right. Because there are several things. Of course, the Beethoven year as a pretext, but also there's a very strong sense of journey in the 32 sonatas. And I thought that what would be really cool for me, because before I started, I had only played 9 of the sonatas. So 23 would have been completely new for me. And I thought what would be really cool, rather than approaching it as a single cycle, and then once you have played all of them, you present them to the audience, would be to follow Beethoven's footsteps, as it were, and learn them one sonata or one opus at a time, film them, and then move to the next opus. So the idea was not to look at sonatas for where they stand in the cycle, but rather to see each one of them as the high point of what Beethoven was doing at the time. And I thought that might make each one of the sonatas more interesting, more valuable in itself. And then, just as this idea came into my mind, I downloaded the scores and I started reading through the early sonatas, which I didn't know at all. My early sonata before that has been the Pathétique, so number 8. So the first 7 I didn't know that much. And I discovered that the music was absolutely incredible. And then from just an idea, it became something that I was really excited about. Then a few weeks later, I realized that if I just do it for myself, sitting at home and learning the sonatas, I'll never have the discipline to bring this to completion. So I realized I had to have a public-facing goal in this project. And then I called Stuart French, who's a filmmaker I often worked with in London. He has a company called Fly on the Wall, and there are days that they do live music filming. You can do as many takes as you want, but in the end you choose one of these takes and this is the final result. So there's no editing of multiple takes like in a studio setting. And I asked him whether he'd like to film all 32 sonatas as we go along, and he loved this for its documentary element, because in a way he'd be following me during this journey and this struggle and challenge, as it were. But this is how the project started, and then the initial plan was to do it on my YouTube channel, and then Apple Music took the whole project, so now it's both on my YouTube channel and on Apple Music. And there is a website, beethoven32.com, where every sonata is uploaded. We put a new sonata every 2 weeks. And I also blog about the entire process and behind the scenes and the challenges of learning the sonatas and little listening guides to each one of the sonatas as they come out.
I love that idea that you're looking at where he is at any given moment. So, it
And the
is
time,
like the
yes,
best creation at
for
that particular point.
for him, yes, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it was, even if you look at the what he called the easy sonatas, the Opus 49 or Opus 79, he puts so much love and care and thought and attention to them. They're never quickly put together secondary pieces of music. They're always, worthy of Beethoven.
I'm curious. So for these, I've seen that you've been playing on a Fazioli. What makes a Fazioli piano, particularly special or as an instrument?
I discovered them about 8 years ago, and I very quickly fell in love with them. There are two elements, and even though I can separate them talking about the pianos, but when you play, they combine. One element is easier to describe, it's the action, which is out of this world. Evenness, speed of reaction, the amount of effort you need to put in to get the same amount of sound projection. It's basically, the piano is so sensitive, the piano is so quick to react, the piano, it feels, I know it'll sound like some kind of promotional speech, but it really feels that it's enough to think about the color change or sound change, and the piano just does that. It reacts to the tiniest, minuscule changes in weight, timing, touch, and it's very easy to know what kind of sound you'll get, and it gives you incredible control. But also the sound aesthetic, which I love. It has a very, I think clarity is the key point. So all of the Fazioli pianos have incredible clarity, articulation, clarity of the bass, clarity of the different registers. And then in the very best Faziolis, this is also combined with a beautiful singing tone. And then when you have these three elements together, the action, the clarity, and the singing tone, then you get just a superb first-class instrument. And I've been playing on them very often. All of my recent CDs were recorded on a Fazioli, on a specific Fazioli, in fact. And these videos, we're filming them either in London at the Fazioli Center or at the Fazioli Concert Hall, which is in Sacile in Venice. So nowadays, every time I see them, Italy in the news, my thoughts and my heart is with them very much, because there's such a personal connection to that corner of Italy in particular. Fazioli, luckily, so I've been corresponding with them there in the factory. They were fine.
Good.
They were fine.
Yeah.
When I came home from the States, at first I really didn't know what to do with myself, and then especially because there was, and in a way there still isn't any kind of clarity about when things might go back to any kind of normalcy. Then I saw, even as I was on my way back from the States, I saw some of my colleagues starting to do broadcasts from home, live streams, and I thought, yes, this is what I'm going to do. And this is what I've been doing since then, 2 or 3 times a week.
Yeah,
So
I was gonna ask you about that. You've been doing, a concert at least every Friday. It looks like you've been doing some master classes.
Exactly. So Twitter and Facebook, I find that the sound is better on Facebook, actually. So if someone like to watch and can watch on Facebook,
go there.
Better. So I do Monday and Wednesday, and then some Fridays as well. So because Friday is the usual release day for the Beethoven sonatas. So if there is a Beethoven release, then there's no broadcast, and if there isn't, then I do a broadcast. And master classes in between. Master classes are really easy to do, because I just pick a piece and I just talk out loud, and musical challenges, technical challenges. And I was really surprised that some of these master classes then get 3,000-4,000 views on Facebook, because they're quite technical. They're quite they're basically oriented for students or people who might be interested in playing the piece. Yeah, but those broadcasts have been a real source of energy and dry for me over this month, because first it gives me structure. I found I didn't know that I cannot really practice just in general, just sit and practice if there's no aim, if there's no concert recording or something. I'm starting to practice and I just don't have I don't know if it's the discipline or the focus or whatever. But as soon as I know that tomorrow I have to go online, and some of these Facebook broadcasts had 50,000 viewers, so this is very
prepared.
This I know how to deal with. This is my usual concert situation, so I know how to work for that. And then to read the comments, there's when we are on stage, which of course there is nothing like playing live music. There's nothing like playing live music, but I'd say there's something quite special in these broadcasts, because on one hand we're very distant, they're somewhere else. On the other hand, they're just behind the smartphone. It's like this feeling that just the smartphone is like a window between the audience and me, and it's very near because the smartphone is just half a meter from the piano, and I imagine that the audience is more or less the same thing, half a meter from their smartphones or devices or computers. So in a way, I feel that the audience is much closer than they would be in a concert hall. And also then you can get immediate reaction. People write comments, they ask questions. It's different, and from that point of view, I love it, and this is what is keeping me going these days.
Like the arts are one of the things that people have really rallied and gathered around.
There's that, and there's also, I think, for all my colleagues and myself, it's the thing that any big gatherings, including concerts, were the first to be cancelled, and very likely there will be the last to be brought back. So I think most of my colleagues are looking for maybe definitely until the summer with no concerts, and who knows for how long. So you begin to think, what's the next step? If I need to do this for a few more months, so you need to think of learning new repertoire, but also trying to see what other opportunities might there be, whether online lessons, like private lessons, or I started doing home recordings. This is a new thing, just started just last weekend. The BBC Radio 3 asked for several artists to record one file. They call it home sessions. And this led me a little bit into audio, sort of sound engineering, a little bit about microphone positioning, and then doing some kind of post-processing a little bit, basically trying to squeeze the best possible sound I can from these, from a room which is not purpose-built for sound recording. But it's incredible what we can do with relatively simple tech. So I have a microphone which is it goes directly into the iPhone. It's a small Shure mic, but in the end, I thought it was not bad at all for a home recording, and the BBC were happy with it. So this is something I'd like to do more of, because the broadcast, of course, the live sound quality is not great, and also they're live, so they're closer to performance. But being at home, also with a lot of time, I could experiment with picking pieces of repertoire which I might not want to do a CD for. It might not be my core repertoire, not repertoire which I've really worked for a long time on, and yet I could try to dedicate a week or 2 weeks to a certain cycle of pieces, and then try to have a result like a YouTube video. So this is another thing which I'm exploring right now.
Terrific. Yeah, it sounds like you're keeping yourself very, very busy with other
Trying,
projects you had and things you're looking to add.
Yeah, so I find that the empty days are the most challenging ones, when there's nothing on the agenda, and nothing on the agenda also the following day. Like one day off is nice, but with 2 days off, they just fly quickly, and you feel that you haven't done anything. And
do you have a routine for your day, or do you just sort of?
So with the broadcast, my usual routine, because I need to do 30 minutes of different repertoire every time, so I usually choose the piece the day before, that's also quite fun, I have to say, to be able to decide on repertoire not 2 years in advance, but 24 hours in advance. Means that I know that I really want to play it now. And then I would work on that repertoire that day. Mostly, my main preparation window is afternoon and evening and late night the day before broadcast, and then the morning of the broadcast I do a run through. At 11 and 1 o'clock my time is the broadcast, and then usually on these days I take the afternoon off and do various writing tasks or cooking. I do quite a bit of cooking nowadays, and got
Excellent.
back bread baking as well.
Yeah, I was going to ask, outside of music, what are you doing? So it sounds like, working back in the kitchen, doing a little bit of cooking. Are there, shows that you're watching? Are there books that you're diving
Um,
into that have been on the
I
shelf?
I got back into, so I was like, shows and books were my usual downtime over the last years, but now I got back into computer games, which I haven't done in a long while, because I used to play a lot as a teenager, as a kid, and then gradually I played less and less, because games are often quite an investment of time, and sometimes I found that it's difficult to commit to something which is 80 or 100 hours. But now I think, yeah, if I play 1 hour a day or a few hours over the weekend, I could finish a game in 2 weeks, in a month. So I got back into that.
Glad that you're doing well, and we really are looking forward to when we can all get back together and definitely have you
Absolutely.
here.
Every time I see some video clips of chamber music being played, I get this sort of like, I don't know, nostalgia and wistfulness, because this is something which I do miss very much, just making music with others,